Everybody, welcome back to another episode of the FSIDFS NASCAR show. I'm your host, Mega Ruler 31, and I'd like to thank everybody for all the views on the Xfinity video. I put it out a little early in the week and kind of did nail it with that qualifying would be rained out. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. I apologize. I messed up the formula, so I didn't get the starting order exactly correct. But that's why I always come back to these videos and check them out, especially a couple hours before lock, because people ask a lot of good questions. And if I do realize that I'm human, I screwed up something in the video, we'll try to fix it, give you correct information. I was actually able to attach a link of a JPEG picture of the chart updated based on what the actual qualifying order is. And when that came out, that was correct. And I think we did pretty well there. So that race was rained out. Hopefully we'll get this race in tomorrow for Cup Series and Xfinity afterwards, a cool doubleheader day. So they're heading out to Auto Club, California. It's the Paula Casino 400, 200 laps, 2-mile track. The asphalt pavement on the track is really worn out, so they're going to tear the track down after this race. And after this racing weekend, pretty soon. And instead of repaving it like they did Atlanta, they're actually going to reconfigure it and make it a short track. So kind of sad, the purist of us, this used to be a really important race. A lot of good Cup guys got their first wins out here. Pretty exciting. So I think a lot of them are going to miss it, but things change, things move on, and we'll see. Hopefully, when they rebuild it, it'll be pretty exciting. So the tire wear track, so that's something that you have to keep in mind. There's a really fast high groove, so the wall rider guys are going to do well here. It favors people that have run well on dirt tracks before too. So again, we're only 2 races into the season, so I didn't use any Daytona data in here. So if you looked at the projections, they're not really dialed in yet. It usually takes 4 or 5 races before they start to get, so they're just a guideline. Just don't try to put them in an optimizer or anything like that. Again, go more by what my play sheet says and what our description is here. So, but how did I get them? It's pretty much 20% their 2022 data, 20%, actually 30% their history at the California track. If they didn't have a history at California track, I took a composite of similar tracks, which would be Darlington, Homestead, and if they did have history there, the old Atlanta track before they repaved. It was a high tire wear track also. So it's getting back to it. So then 50% is what was their average running position in Auto Club 22 race when they returned back here, because they weren't here in 20 and 21 because of COVID. California canceled all live events outside. In the States, there are large gatherings, so they couldn't race here in 20 or 21 because of COVID. So 22, they came back. You have 2 Darlington races to look at, Homestead race. And like I said, if they didn't have data, then I threw in some Atlanta. And then I looked at tire wear tracks, like a whole composite of them, and put them together and came up with like an average finish for them too, to kind of factor in this. So that's what is in the stew that we cooked up here. So let's start looking at these picks. So first of all, you start Christopher Bell. Starts up here, and I know like he didn't win Daytona, and that's how I thought. I thought that the order would be like how they finished in Daytona, and then whoever's left over, car owner points from their Daytona finishes, and then car owner points for 2022 finishes, things like that. But the NASCAR cooked up some special recipe. I don't need to understand. I just need to know this is the correct order, which it is on the screen here. So Christopher Bell gets the pole. To me, he's a GPP. He's been decent. He's got a experience in dirt track, but he hasn't run super well here. Struggled last year here. Darlington did really, really well. Homestead did well too. So again, I wouldn't go with the projection. I think, you're looking at like this 27.9 here. Like if I deleted that and made it like a 6, I mean that increases him a little bit, but not a ton. But anyway, so I really wouldn't look at that. But I think with the way qualifying it started out here, with all the wrecks at Daytona and how the formula, you've got a lot of guys at the back. So this is definitely going to be a place differential race, when normally it wouldn't be, because if they did have qualifying stuff, the faster cars would be up front and you'd be trying to look for the dominators, and then maybe one guy spun in qualifying or cut down a tire and couldn't qualify, and you have like the one or two guys that are great place differential guys, or you have to figure out which medium to scrub cars could potentially be good place differential guys, but you want to try to find the dominators up front because there are 200 laps here. So that is not a ton, like a short track where you get a 400 or 500, but it's a significant amount that you want to get a share of. So I think at first you need to look at and think like who could potentially be an early lap leader here. So Christopher Bell on the pole is an option. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is very, very risky option. He's obviously he did well and won the Daytona 500. If there weren't the wrecks before him, I don't know if that still would have happened if he had the car to finish first. But this is a track that he could definitely do well on. He can ride the wall. He is aggressive. He does make mistakes, and seen him, get too close to the wall, cut down tires, spin out, things like that. So always a GPP play. But we'll just have to kind of watch him through the season now because he has a win. So he's most likely, unless there's like multiple, like we have a crazy thing like last year where like almost there's a new winner every single week and they're not going to have enough spots in the playoffs because more people have won races, and then it's going to go back to multiple wins and points. But at this point, he might be able to be a little bit more aggressive than with different like setups and pit strategy and things like that, because he doesn't have to chase the win. So we'll see how that plays out. Logano, really, really like him up here. I think he'll be highly owned in a cash play. Out of these three, I think he's my favorite to be the early dominator. If you look at his composite scores, 5.4 average running position, 2.4 average running position, 6.9 average running position, just really seems to do really well at this track. And I think a lot of people, I projected him for high ownership, but that might be medium because I think people are going to be chasing the place differential guys, and he might not even fit into the team. 97 is a good price here. I don't think he's ever won in Cup, but I know he's got some Xfinity wins here, and he's like done well in Cup here, obviously by the statistics. So Logano is my favorite one up top here. I think Bowman could potentially be in the mix also, but I really don't think, just looking at I mean, he does come in 7th in composite score, but I don't really think that he's going to be able to challenge these other three up here. I think he gets a top 10 finish, but GPP play for me. Busher, he ran really well at Homestead, led the race for a while. I can't remember if that's 21 or 22. But I just think that he's going to fade back with just looking at his like average running position on some of these other tire wear tracks here, and they're all in the 20s, 24th overall. So I think he's starting way too far forward. AJ Allmendinger, okay, but most of these numbers are from Xfinity. He's had some Cup experience up here. I think he can do okay, but I think again he's starting way too far forward. I'd rather pay $300 more for Ryan Preece starting at in 27th position than to take AJ Allmendinger, who I don't think can get up there and dominate, and I think he's going to struggle to hang on to a top 10 finish. Ross Chastain, another wild card here. Numbers are fair for this type of track and tire wear. Super aggressive. Will probably, and the cars have been fast. Although Trackhouse did kind of like slow down a little bit. Oh, skipped it over Daniel Suarez. Sorry about that. I'll just kind of talk about them together because they're teammates here, and the cars were fast, and there were but and Daniel Suarez, he is much better here. He's 12th for it looks for ranked for speed composite, and it's probably just because Chastain's so aggressive that the 20th is like he gets too close to the wall and cuts down a tire like Stenhouse. And then that probably is bringing his numbers down here. Just the overalls, but I think the two of these guys are just GPPs. I think Chastain, just based on making the playoffs and some of the crazy things he did at the end of last season to win races, will carry over for ownership. But I know Ross is just such a wild card. I mean, he could go out here and dominate this race, win this race, or he could finish dead last. So I think, we got to see a little bit more how he's going to do this season before we start playing him in cash. Blaney, I think you can play him in cash here. I think that he could potentially be a second dominator, get up there and lead. Really good at tire wear tracks and tracks like this. So he's I think he could have won the race, and maybe it was 19 or so. I think, if I recall, one of these Auto Club races, and he like cut down a tire or something. So but he's they used to have different packages here. Like they used to race like high downforce, then change the horsepower and stuff, but it's not as much of a factor now. And he did excel when in intermediate tracks when they had the right package. But again, I think I'm not gonna have a ton of him. I might have a couple shares, but I think if you want to play him in cash, I think that the numbers look okay for him. For that, Kevin Harvick, I do believe this is his home track also. Last time here for everybody, of course, but last time, they'll do Sonoma also, so he should be out racing for that one, I believe. So it's not a last trip to California, but this definitely would be one that he probably has marked on his calendar to try to go and win. 13th overall, so I have him finishing 14th, which isn't too bad. I think he's a GPP. I think he's a sneaky GPP play where you can throw him in, and if the sentimental thing plays out, or just knowing the track from these years of experience, and is okay with the tire wear and stuff with that, maybe or if there's, I don't anticipate like any big wrecks in this one, but if for some reason somebody cuts down a tire and takes out like people in front of him through attrition, maybe I'll have a shot to win it at the end. So I just, again, maybe 5%. If you're playing like 150 max, just sprinkle some Kevin Harvick in. Cody Ware and Corey LaJoie, no thank you. Had great races, survived the attrition in Daytona, finished well. So they're rewarded with these great starting spots, but these guys should be starting in 30s. So that's probably where they'll end up. I have them finishing 31st and 32nd. So no thank you, 100% fades. The Gibbs cars here, Hamlin and Truex, both these guys have been really good here. Hamlin actually comes in number 1, and Truex comes in number 4 when you look at all the data for like tire wear tracks and things like that. And Truex was like the master on the high horsepower and low downforce package for the intermediate tracks, but it just switching this new car, he's really struggled to adjust, but he's looked decent this season to start out. Won the Clash, and didn't look bad at Daytona, so maybe things are starting to come together for him. And it just seemed like the Gibbs team was kind of cursed last year. They just had so many problems with cars catching on fire and different mechanical breakdowns and stuff, but I think they got everything all ironed out and be stronger. So these are two really good cash plays, but you can only play so many people, so I think the ownership will be high for them if people don't play place differential. There's I think that these guys would be great plays, even better than Blaney as like your second dominator, somebody to get up there and potentially lead the second half of the race. But Kyle Larson is going to be absolute chalk. He won last year. He won Homestead also, I believe. So like he's done really, really well with these high tire tracks. And if he didn't have like a couple bad times at Darlington, he would definitely be number one in composite scores here. It does very, very well. Former dirt track driver, everything just lines up for him, but he's very expensive, most expensive guy on the board. So in order for you to be able to fit him into your build, we're going to have to probably make some decisions here, because again, he can't play everybody. And I think Truex is really kind of in a sweet spot here, because if he can't get up to a Larson, or can't get up to a Hamlin or a Blaney at 9.3, he's very reasonably priced. Brad Keselowski, I think, is a good GPP play. TK and I used to torch him last year just because he just seemed to kind of lost it, be at the end of his career. But I'm not necessarily calling the renaissance yet. But through the Clash and through Daytona, I've seen better. I've seen more speed out of the car. I've seen some more consistency out of this. Again, he did really good at Homestead. He did really bad at Darlington. He was somewhere in between an Auto Club and the second Darlington race. But overall, tire wear tracks, 10th overall. I think there's a lot of positives here for him being decent with tire wear. Now we'll just have to see, was that when he was Penske and that was like that part of their program, because Logano and Blaney seemed to be decent also with tire wear, or is it just the driver himself understanding it? So, or maybe he learned it and it still will apply in his new team here, Roush Fenway. So we'll have to see how that goes. So GPP. Eric Almirola, I think you can play in cash here. I know he's probably starting a little bit further than somebody would like, but he lines up to at 6,500 to be decent here. I have him kind of finishing where he starts, but he should end up probably a little bit over 4x, which I'm okay with. And I think, if you need a cheap person with good experience on these tracks, that he's someone that you can definitely look at. So, and he's got decent track history here. Who's up next? Bubba Wallace. Bubba Wallace is another one that can get up there and ride against the wall. These Toyotas are pretty fast, but again, he's had issues with tires cutting down. I believe he had one in Auto Club last year. So was he one of the ones that tire fell off, or if he got a flat, and was one of the ones where before they figured out these new cars would get like stuck on the track, kind of like maroon, like a beached whale. Can't remember if that was him or not here, but he did well at Darlington. Homestead, I think he was that was the race he was suspended for intentionally wrecking somebody or whatever happened towards the end of the season. So again, I think he's a GPP play here. Cindric, same thing. He was decent in Xfinity here. Ran well, decent at Homestead as a rookie last year, but then if I look at the Homestead and Darlington numbers, they're not as good. So I think that you can play him as a GPP here, but I wouldn't play him in cash. I have him finishing in the top 10, so he could be a sleeper pick here. Noah Gragson, I think, is definitely a cash play, and I think he might get overlooked just starting 20th. People chase the place differential with the cheaper prices down below, but look at his numbers at like these high tire wear tracks last year in Xfinity. 2-2-1. Homestead didn't do as well, but again, at that point, I believe he was filling in for Bowman, because Bowman has no run for Homestead. And I think he was just kind of used to the cup cars and stuff. It's completely different, but overall, like he's really good at these types of tracks and riding the wall. And I think last year Eric Jones was very, very fast here, and their teammates, and I think that'll probably carry over to this car. You got Jimmy Johnson, who this is pretty much his home track, also partial owner of team. I'm sure he's got some input on it also. So I think that definitely like these legacy motorsports cars and cash. Kyle Busch, I have as a cash play, which you're probably gonna follow if you watch these videos, because I always said Kyle Busch is a GPP, but I'm not turning into a Kyle Busch fan, but I'm starting to respect him more this year with the new team. I just think he was jaded last year with Gibbs. I think they kind of sabotaged him to try to keep his performance bad, so he couldn't go and try to get like a really big contract someplace else, to try to lowball him. And now in these RCR cars, I think he looked really good in the Clash. He was making progress there. He looked really good in the duels until Suarez dumped him. He fought his way up to the front of Daytona. He got a speeding penalty on pit road, and then going all the way to the back and fought his way all the way back up front almost again, until he got wrecked again. And last year here, he had an overheating problem with his car. Again, these Gibbs cars had a really big learning curve trying to figure out these new cars. So, and I think he also got spun out at one point. I think he also had a speeding penalty in this one. So he had like the trifecta of things go wrong, but he kept on battling back. He didn't finish well. He did at Darlington last year. So I just think looking at his history overall, I know 10-3 is a tough price, but I think that you really want to figure out who your first leader is, take your place differential guys, and then I think you really want like a Kyle Busch, a Kyle Larson, or Denny Hamlin or Truex as like your middle of the road, like to late race dominator guy. So we'll get more to that towards the end. So JJ Yaley is definitely a fade, starting way too far forward. Ty Gibbs, I have as a cash play. I know he didn't look good in the last couple of races of the season, but then again, he was thrown into the car after Kurt Busch had the concussion, and he's trying to focus on running Xfinity and learning how to drive a Cup car. And I think they were doing a lot of R&D with him, like he was trying to do things, because even though wasn't in Joe Gibbs Racing, it was 2311. I think they all kind of worked together. And we talked about this with kind of like some of like the Stuart Haas cars last year towards the end of the season, where they out there, and Roush Fenway, were they out there trying to try different things to get data to be successful for 2023 season, or are they actually out there trying to win races? And it looked more and more like some of the cars that were out of the playoffs were trying to figure out different configurations and stuff to experiment for this year. And I think Ty Gibbs could have been part of that last year. But I think he's a good cash play here at 61. Between he and Grayson, $100 difference. I think there's I think they're both comparable. There's one other guy that we'll get to coming up that's a little bit cheaper that I have as a prime play. But I think, even if you wanted to play all three of them, then that gives you a decent amount for place differential. Let me just look here quick and see. So if I plug in these guys all in this price range and take Haley, take Gibbs, Grayson, and take Gibbs, that gives me 10-6 left. So there I can throw in, pretty much any 10K guy I want. You can get Larson, you can get Hamlin, you can get Kyle Busch, you can get Ryan Blaney, you can get Chase Elliott. So, I mean, if you want to start with those three guys as kind of like an upper lower range core, then you can rotate in like pretty much any stud that you wanted for that. So that could be one strategy that you take in GPPs there. Harrison Burton, Gillian, McDowell, they're all GPPs. Nobody really sticks out here as anybody that I really like in this range. So if they're last guy in your lineup, if that's what you need, that's fine. Again, I try to find the 200 for Haley, but I really wouldn't, or just take Ty Dillon, who's starting dead last, and he can't get any negative place differential because NASCAR, I always say, is in a 40 car system for every single race for DK. That's how their point system set up. Like a 36 place car automatically starts with a floor of 4, so cannot go below 4 DK points. So you're guaranteed at least 4 DK points from them. So Austin Dillon, or sorry, Ryan Preece, he's a cash play here. Again, he was not in Cup last year, but the Stewart Haas car has been pretty fast and pretty good. So it's 6,700, just pretty reasonable. Place differential. If that's in your range, just like this, like 6,001 is kind of no man's land. Eric Almirola, like I said, I like that, but he's got track history here. Priest has a little bit better like place differential, and then you're up in like the Busher and Allmendinger, or like fades in the range, so not too many choices in the upper 6Ks. I like the lower 6Ks, like I said, down to 5.9 with Haley. So kind of probably stay out of this ballpark. I'd probably try to see if I could get a better driver, or just leave some money on the table and go with the Gibbs, Grayson, or Haley options. So Austin Dillon, he's been solid on this type of track. I think he's going to be very, very high owned here also. I have him finishing 15, 13 place differential points. So definitely had a really strong car last year. So I definitely think he can get up in the top 10. And maybe if he plays his cards right and they pit strategy right and the brakes right, could even potentially get up and lead some laps here. Justin Haley, I have as the prime play here because you're going to need some value. And like I said, I gave you my 3 value guys. So if you want to put all 3 in one lineup, I don't think you need 3. I think 2 out of 3 works well. And in my cash lineup, I really only have, I believe I only have 1 of the 3. Let's see here. Yes. Yep. I have 1 of the 3. So, but then again, like I said, if you want to pay up and get some better drivers, and you can go 2 of them and work that out. BJ McLeod's a fade here. I think he finishes towards the bottom. Really nothing impresses me with him here at this track. Chase Briscoe, I really like this play here. He was really solid in Xfinity on these tracks, and I think he's got some good place differential. I really like the tag at 7,500. There's really nobody else in this price range besides Eric Jones that really is good. And I always just like his style of driving. He's like the best one at like shifting these cars. I don't think there's gonna be a ton of it's not like it's a road course or like a short track where you need to do a bunch of shifting, but I just think that his style of driving, I think he'll be okay here. So William Byron is definitely a prime play. Like he had such a solid car here last year too, and just ran really well at Darlington, really well at Homestead, like number 6 overall in composite. So definitely think you just gotta lock him in your lineup. Chase Elliott, the same thing. The price tag's hard. I think he's going to have high ownership down here. People are just going to probably just stack the back like a plate race and go like Briscoe, Bryan, Elliott, Jones, and Reddick to start there. But I really think that you really want to try to get some of those Dom points up there, and that might really differentiate for the people that just go straight place differential, because if for some reason they can't move up or something, or there's a wreck in the back and all these cars are starting in the same area, then that's going to end your day really fast. So I think you can play Elliott in cash, but I think if you're like going up for a 10K guy, I think I would prefer to put the place differential and aim for the win upside, or the Dom points from Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, or Kyle Larson. Over that, Eric Jones is another prime play. I think, you know, he's going to be super high owned. I think Byron and Jones are probably um, going to start a lot of people's lineups with maybe Reddick or Elliott down here. Like I said, it's probably going to take at least 3 cars down here. Definitely very, very good. Was very, very fast here. All the numbers look good. Homestead had a little bit of trouble. I think he had a tire issue there. But if you take that out, like if you just look at it, 8th overall with composite score, I have him finishing 6th here. Definitely has top 10 upside at this track. Tyler Reddick, again, rides the wall. I think he's going to be chalk. I like the price at 91. Also, the only thing that concerns me is I've seen him get too close to the wall and rub it and cut down tires. Also, same thing I've seen with Chastain, the same thing I've seen with Ricky Stenhouse. So concerns me a little bit. So he's not going to be in my cash lineup, and I think that's going to separate me from the field because I think a lot of people are starting, you know, he will be in most people's primary cash lineups. And then us, Ty Dillon down here, as I said, you know, is not bad at 5.3 as a punt. I think he can get up to like 30th because I think that he can beat BJ McLeod. I think that, you know, Cody Ware is going to slide down, and LaJoy might be able to stay up a little bit, but JJ Yaley is going to probably slide down, and somebody else will have some issues. So I think he finishes 30th. So you get like 6th place differential points there, finish somewhere in the teens. I mean, it's better than a 0 for a cheap person. So like I said, what I'm looking to do here is I'm looking up top and like looking at who is going to lead early. Who can I get those first dominator points? Now, there is going to be a competition caution, I think, because of the rain, everything like lap 20. So, I mean, that might shake things up early, you know, depending on pit road and everything and restarts. But I really think Logano's the one that gets out and holds it early. I really think that you're going to see Hamlin, Truex, Kyle Larson, and Kyle Busch work their way up. And I don't think I think they'll be close to taking over the lead after the competition caution, but I don't think they'll be quite there yet. After stage 1, I think one of them definitely can get up there. And then you have like some of these guys in the back that are just going to be really, really solid plays. Like I said, the value 3 that I really like with Gibbs, with Gregson, with Haley, who have all been solid and this, like, not elite, but solid on this type of track. I mean, I guess you might be able to call like Grayson elite, but that was an Xfinity that wasn't in this car. I handle a little bit differently. And then, you know, with Jones and Byron and some of these other guys like mix in. So I'll definitely have to see. So I feel like it's the Daytona 500 in the sense that we talked about there were so many really good plays with like the way the place differential and some of the guys starting the back. And I think you have the same exact thing here where there's a lot of really good plays. So again, I think most people are going to gravitate towards the place differential here. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just telling you that my strategy is going to be to take one of the 3 guys up top, a mid-range guy starting in the middle of the pack that I think can get up there and either win the race or dominate. And then I'm going to fill in with those value plays and the place differential guys. So again, it's check back tomorrow right before the race if there's anybody fails tech or things, because, you know, if Joey Logano is in my lineup and he fails tech or something, or if it's an impound race or something, or has an improved adjustment, it has to remember they had no practice and no qualifying. So these cars just came right off the truck there and fire them up. If there's issues and they have to fix stuff and they have unapproved adjustments and they're going to fall down at the start at the bottom, he's not going to dominate early. So I'm not going to play him anymore. I'm really going to have to rethink my strategy at that point. You know, if there are a couple of these people in the top 10 do, then maybe Ross Chastain comes into the question. So again, it's very, very important. Well, first of all, the best thing you can do is go to FSIDFS and sign up for our NASCAR package, because you get into our Discord, we answer all these questions and give you all these news and alerts and things like that. But in honor of you faithful viewers that come in and watch the show week in and week out, and just how much I appreciate you. And I've pledged to work my tail off for you all season long to try to give you the best content possible. I will try to get in there and answer your questions and put some updates. So come back and check the video, like I said, about half an hour before lock, and see if there's any comments, any changes, or anything like that. I don't know, I'll try to help you out with that. So those are some things to watch for tomorrow. Hopefully the rain holds off. Hopefully, the competition caution doesn't really screw things up too much. And I think it's going to be a fun race, and hopefully we can do well and make money. So again, you can hit me up at Twitter, Megalrow31. Go to FSIDFS, sign up for our package, and jump into our Discord, and you have the information there, or leave a comment in the video below. So if you appreciate these videos, like I said, the biggest thing that you can do to help, and I just thank you so much. We've I really wanted to first get to 4,000 viewers and then work our way up to 5,000 by the end of this year. And baseball, which we are doing spring training baseball, so you can get up to FSIDFS free. I'll put that on Twitter tomorrow, so get into that. First day of the season, I finished second in the big GPP, so prize pools were kind of down a little bit, so it wasn't a huge win. I think I won like 150 or something like that, but another solid day today with McKinley and I, and we're looking forward to providing like cores for you free of charge. All you have to do is just sign up for FSIDFS, go to Major League Baseball, just sign up for you just have to the way the package is weekly, so you just have to go and sign up every week for free, and then you can remain in there until the regular season starts at the end of March. And again, after that, our prices are very, very reasonable for everything. So we're not here to make a killing or make a living or retire off of people subscribing. We are here to keep the business going, to make a little bit of money for our efforts and all the content that we put together. But most of all, we want to help you be able to stay in the game as long as you can, and hopefully build a bankroll and be able to take some of your profit out of that, and treat yourself to some nice things in life, but also be able to continue to come and play DFS and enjoy putting some a little bit more bets on these like races and sports and stuff like that. So again, super appreciate. So please like the video, give us subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Encourage your friends to come watch and subscribe too. That's the stuff that helps us the most. So just by liking the videos, sharing with your friends, and subscribing to our channel, those things I super appreciate. So MegaRuler31, gone on long enough tonight, so hopefully this was helpful to you, and you know how to get a hold of me if you have any questions or things pop up. Check back at the chat for about half an hour or so before lock, and you'll see if there's any updates, news, things like that. And we'll see you next week for, I believe it's Las Vegas. Take care.